man with his cup of Java. It's Wally Kerr. Good morning.
Good morning, my friend.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've had a great week this week, really productive, and I'm excited to be here with you today.
You know, the weather today should be nice. It's going to be warm, maybe a little gusty. So keep the windows up when you drive around and look at those homes and head to those open houses. But it should be a nice day today.
Yeah, I want the lakes to get warm. I'm an avid water skier.
Okay.
For our listeners, I'm a slalom skier, and I just can't wait for the hot summertime. I'm ready.
Fantastic. So tell us, what do we have lined up for today?
Great. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Fed's actions this week. There was a big announcement this week. So let's talk about the Fed's actions and what the market is doing. I think our listeners always enjoy that, right?
Yes.
Our segments today. So for home sellers, I've got some astounding numbers. When to lower your listing price. I mean, nobody really wants to do that, right?
Sure, yeah.
Are there going to be telltale signs, Dave, of when you do need to lower your price? Or are you just going to let the home sit on the market forever?
Oh, that's going to be interesting. Okay.
Be a good segment. We'll talk today about tips when buying an older home. Do you like older homes, Dave?
You know, I do. I like the Victorian homes, and I do like fixer-uppers. I think it's neat when you have these homes that were built almost 100 years ago. They need a lot of TLC, so this will be interesting to see about how to get into those and what to look for, and maybe what you really need to put into them, I guess.
I sold a house for a friend of mine, Dave, about 20 years ago, and she made a really profound statement. She said, when you own an older home, you don't own it, you're a caretaker. So let's talk today.
That.
Yeah, it was pretty profound. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember it today. Hi, Elise, if you're listening today. So for tips when buying an older home. We'll talk about this week's open houses that we have coming, new listings, some hot new listings, and then some coming soon listings. Those are those homes that are not on the market.
Oh, that's right.
There's no sign in the yard. Other realtors don't know about them, but I do, because we're going to be placing those homes for sale. I picked a few for today. We'll talk about some home inspection items that might surprise you, whether you're a home seller or a home buyer. And then finally, your favorite segment. I'll let you take it from here, Dave.
True or false real estate quiz.
We have fun with this one, don't we?
Yes, I love that.
So there's today's lineup for our listeners, and looking forward to being here and doing the show with you today.
Fantastic. Well, you know, we're spring moving into summer, and it looks like, again, demand is in full swing. We talked about spring and summer being the traditional selling and buying season for a lot of families, especially, families in general, because the kids are out of school, and now is time to make the move if you want to make the move. But I guess some homes might not be selling right now. So what advice do you have for homeowners who have a home on the market and is not selling? Yeah, especially this time of year.
Great question. So you hit that right on the head. We chose the subject matter and you led right into it. So this is interesting. So just a few days ago, Dave, I looked on the Oklahoma City Multiple Listing Service, where all of the listed homes are for sale.
Yes.
In the Oklahoma City metro, and a few outside the metro area where realtors list a home, and maybe it's in Weatherford, or maybe it's down in Pauls Valley. So the multi-list stretches out. But here's what I noted. There were 4,315 homes for sale in the MLS. You remember from some of our conversations, the average number of homes in a normal market, 6,000 to 8,000. There's only 4,135. So we're really down on inventory. Here's what's interesting, though, Dave. Do you know of those 4,315 homes for sale, there were over 1,800 of them that have been on the market at least 60 days.
Oh, wow.
And there are over 1,300 that have been on the market at least 90 days.
Okay, so even in a market this good, and it's the buying season for homes, there's homes that are sitting there for a while. Is there cause for concern for that?
Yeah, there is.
Why is that?
There is. So as we led off with, when you've got a home for sale, and if you're a home seller, and you've been on the market 60 days, 90 days, or longer, the question is, you don't want to leave any money on the table, but you're kind of determined, if you're that far down the road and the market's this good, that maybe something's not just right. So let's talk about how to help these owners, Dave, with some good advice. Frankly, it's a real profound statement when you say the longer any home sits, the less it's worth. It's like any commodity. I've explained it to home sellers before that if Walmart has lawn sprinklers, in their garden department available for sale in
Yes.
December, they probably cut the price, right?
Sure.
Christmas decorations that are still for sale on January 7th.
That's the best time to buy them.
It's the best time. So they cut the price, but it's because they know that the market has said,
Sure.
not
And
gonna
no
pay
one
full
bought
price for
those.
this.
That was the reason why they are there. So, is there something wrong with the house? Why is it sitting there that long?
So three things normally sell a home, Dave, and it's going to be, and a lot of people over the years have said, oh, I know, Wally, it's location, location, location. And I'm like, you're 1/3 right.
Yes.
But it's price, condition, and location. So, first of all, the obvious statement, you can't change the location, right?
That's true.
And hopefully, if you're listening, you've got a home in a good location, in a good area, but that can't change. Maybe you've got a superb location, maybe you've got an okay location, maybe you've got a not so great location. Simple fact is you can't change that. What can you
Sure.
change?
We can change the price, and if it needs to be fixed up, we can work on that. So there's at least 2 of the 3 that are in our control.
So let's say that you really don't want to come down on your price.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
I'm probably going to add to the value of the home
There you go,
in a
bingo.
way that it's worth the price.
Yeah, we're going to improve the condition slightly. And it doesn't mean, we talked on a show maybe a couple of months ago, Dave, that doesn't mean spending an enormous amount of money. Walk up on the front porch and look around. Does the front door need to be painted? Is the landscaping kind of in bad shape? Or have the flower beds grown full of weeds?
Mm-hmm.
Is there grass in there? In the fall time, my flower beds a lot of times just get invaded by the Bermuda grass, right?
Yes.
So what can you change to make your home look better?
I feel like you're talking about my house. There's so many things you described there.
No. I know I've seen your home before, and I think you're just having fun. So price, condition, location.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to lower your price, work on the condition. What's it look like on first impressions when someone walks in your front door? Are your bookshelves just loaded with things in the inside where someone can't see your home? Is it carpet? Is it wallpaper? Do you have too much furniture? Here's one we've never talked about, Dave. I've had photographed. We pay for all professional photography for our sellers. I've walked in many sellers' homes where they will either have a really big, oversized coffee table or a really huge ottoman. You've seen one of those stools,
Yes.
ottomans, it's like 3 or 4 feet
That
square.
eats up the space, makes the room look very small.
So you could walk in a home, Dave, and see that and say, well, that's a big ottoman. But people are making their decisions right at the computer. They're looking on the internet. And if that living room looks small because the ottoman or the coffee table is too big, how about this idea? Pull the furniture back in your living room to make the living room look bigger. That's a trick I've done many times with my sellers over the years, where maybe the living room doesn't look that big, but if you pull the couch or the love seat back a foot or two, it makes the floor space look bigger in the pictures.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, price, condition, and location. Here's you remember the litmus paper in chemistry class where
Yes.
it turned pink or blue?
Yes.
Okay. So, and it had to do with the acidity, right?
Yeah.
So,
Was it pH balance?
right.
Okay.
So our litmus test is if a home has been on the market at least 30 days and it's had no showings, now that's a real problem, right?
Yes.
Especially in the current market. Can you
Sure.
think of any home that would be in a good location where it was priced right and had good condition? There's no home that should sit for 30 days without a showing.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So how about the second litmus test? Okay. And that is if you go 60 days without an offer in a market this good. So in 2022, we just pulled our stats last week, and my homes on average, I worked for 162 home sellers, and we listed their home for sale,
Okay.
and our average number of days on the market was 17. And if you extrapolate us out and look at the data from all other realtors put together, their average days on the market was 38.
So their average is already past that 30 days. That's interesting.
Well, that's 30 days without a showing.
You're right. You're right.
But,
Okay.
but 60 days without an offer, our firm considers it critical in a good market like this because our average listing sold in 17 days last year.
Yes.
So if you go 60 days without an offer, I'd have a red flag coming up on the top of my right ear.
Sure.
Just kind of the warning sign of, hey, we've been up 60 days. If your home's being marketed right, maybe you're selling your house by owner, Where is it? Is it only on Zillow? Is it only at forsalebyowner.com? If your home is listed for sale, why isn't it selling in a good market? And so 60 days is critical. But here's the other factor that I think is critical, Dave, is how many showings do you really think your home has to have to sell? I mean, do you want to show it 3 times? Do you want to show it 9 times? Or do you want to show it 28 times?
Well, you want as many as possible because you want multiple offers.
You do.
So,
and the faster a home sells too, we want to balance that with the number of people that look at your home, along with the longer it sits, like what we just talked about.
yes.
The less it's worth. So if you can sell a home in the market today, I certainly advise one thing, and that is don't just put your home on the market and let the first person who walks through make an offer and you say, well, that looks pretty good to me. I guess I'll take that. You haven't had the home out there long enough for the market to tell you exactly
Sure.
what it is worth. This morning, Dave, it reminds me of a conversation just a few days ago with my friend Keith. And he called up and said, hey, this home is out of town, so it's out of our marketplace, so it's not
Okay.
one that I'm handling. And he said, this is my dad's home. And he said, we put the home on the market, and we got a full price offer, but they're asking for some closing costs to be paid. He said, do you think I ought to take this? And I said, well, how long you been on the market? And he said, well, just 1 day. And I said, doesn't sound like the perhaps the agent's done as good a job as should be done in creating some competition and deadlines for your home
Yes.
so that more people could see it. Now, if you have 15 showings and only 2 people say yes and make offers, got a pretty good idea of what it's worth, right?
Yes.
But if I go throw a home on the market and it gets 7 showings, you got 7 offers, first thing you might think is, wow, I'm priced a little bit low. So looking at any home that's been on the market either at least 60 days or has had, let's say, 8 to 10 to 12 showings and no offers, the market's speaking to you, right? Market's telling you what you need to do. Hey, your home has been on the market, you've had some showings, you've had 8 showings, you've had 10 showings, you've had 12 showings, it's now been on the market more than 60 days. It's up to any owner what they want to do.
So the wheels are turning here. I think you could see.
I do.
I do have a question or two. So you mentioned it's been on the market for 20 days, 3 weeks, and we did get 1 offer. Or cancel it. Let's go back a little bit. Let's just say it's maybe 10 days and we get 1 offer. What do you tell the person that's giving you that offer that you want to hold off, or do you hold off? How do you play that? How do you tell them that I'm really waiting to see I have other offers and risk losing that offer, or can you tell them I'm going to keep it on the market so many days and when it's done?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
That's a really good question, because in the digital age, you and I know that you put a home on the market and it's literally on the internet within a couple of hours.
Yes.
And it begins to do what we call syndicate. So if I opt in and send my listing all over the internet,
Yes.
within half a day, it's probably at a couple of hundred different sites. 10 days, boy, you hit me right in the face with that one, because if you'd said, I got an offer in 2 or 3 days, I might say, well, maybe it hasn't been exposed to enough of the market yet.
Okay.
So I think the way I'd look at that is, put it up, you get only 1 offer in 10 days, maybe you go to something like Zillow or realtor.com and see how many people have looked at it.
Okay.
And see if there's already been 1,200 people or 1,600 people that have looked at it. Maybe 22 people saved it, but you've only got 1 offer. Kind of sounds to me like after 10 days on the market, might be the highest offer you might get. What happens if it sits for 16 days, 22 days, 28
Well, now you're
days?
right. You're right. Now you're getting into it's already past the average Wally Kerr sale date. So you're right. But if it's 1 or 2 days, it's like, hey, someone's already jumped on it. There's probably going to be others. Wait for that. So then you just mentioned you might get 7 offers, and you might think that you priced it too low. What can you do after that? Now, I've had these offers, and they're bringing me what I want, but now I'm thinking, oh,
I'm
did
gonna
I
pit
mess
those,
up? What do you do from there?
Yeah, great question. We're going to pit those 7 people against each other and ask for highest and best. Give us your highest and best offer. We'd like to have that by tomorrow at 5 p.m., by Tuesday at 4 p.m. this gives every buyer the chance to say, this is great. They're giving me an opportunity to put my best foot forward. Maybe I want to increase my earnest money. Maybe I want to go back and ask the seller when they would really like to close and make it convenient for them. Maybe I can put a little bit more money down. So that would be highest and best. I think we need to judge this by current days on the market is still right now this time of year averaging about 10.
Okay.
If you look at all homes that have been for sale for whether it's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, the average days on the market right now is about 20, 21. So I'd be looking very carefully at how many days it's been on the market. I think you'll enjoy hearing this. HUD and Fannie Mae repossess homes. HUD homes are typically FHA homes.
Okay.
Conventional homes are underwritten loans by Fannie Mae,
Yes.
Freddie Mac.
Yes.
So when they put a home on the market that's a repo, Dave, they reduce the price typically every 21 days.
Huh.
They figure if it's been out there 21 days with no offers or no acceptable offers, they typically reduce that home 3 to 5% every 21 days until it sells. So if that's what the government's doing, okay, every 21 days,
Sure.
shouldn't an owner consider doing the same thing? So be really careful if your home is sitting on the market, and if you need advice, perhaps you're not happy with where you are right now with your home sale. If I could help you, I mean, I love giving advice and I love doing the show with you, Dave. At the end of the day, I'm in real estate, and I
Yes.
would love to earn the business of anybody thinking of selling or buying. I consider it a privilege to work with you on your home sale. Just give me a call, 405-330-3000. I'll be available today after our shows run, and I'd love to visit with you and help you with your home.
Okay, so we've talked about the number of homes that people are trying to sell on the market. We've talked about quite a few new homes coming onto the market with a lot of builders, but we haven't really talked about older homes, which this is kind of neat. So I love the grand staircases, the balconies, the wraparound porches. All of those probably not combined into one home, but I know those are probably all different kind of styles. But I know there's places here in Oklahoma City that have older homes that just look majestic and look beautiful. So what are some things to think about when, number one, just buying an older home? Do you go about that a little differently in the purchasing process? And two, maybe after you buy it, what is there to think about what goes into it in buying an older home?
Great. So, boy, the charm and character really makes the difference,
Yes,
doesn't it? They just
yes, beautiful.
what's the trite saying? They just don't make them like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
So there's your older homes and a lot of the class and charm that come across with those. So there are a lot of things to think about, and so let's just run through some of those things really quickly.
Right.
First of all, things like sewer lines. Well, that stuff gets buried underground and you just can't see it.
Yes.
So sometimes sewer lines will belly out. In other words, they'll kind of sink into the ground, and you get kind of this belly to where the sewage, maybe it gets blocked with tree limbs, maybe it just collects over the years because that sewer line is bellied. There's this old stuff called Orangeburg pipe, which was kind of a fiber pipe.
Okay, I think I know this. I think I've seen this.
Yeah, I remember when my dad dug up our Orangeburg pipe in our front yard when I was a kid, and I watched him, and I don't remember him pulling it out of the ground. I remember he went back with PVC or cast iron at that time. But all I know about Orangeburg is that it delaminates. And you'd be surprised, there are still some homes in Oklahoma City that still have some Orangeburg pipe.
Oh, wow.
So if I'm a buyer and I'm going to buy an older home, I'm going to definitely get the sewer line scoped with a camera, and plumbers have that available where you can see what's going on with the sewer line.
Yes.
Electrical systems. So, has the box been replaced? Is it adequate to handle today's power needs? Is there any aluminum wiring inside the wall that can literally almost overheat and melt? So that could be a little bit
fire
dangerous.
hazard, yes.
Fire hazard.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. What about the old knob and tube stuff? You've probably seen that before, the little white insulator
Oh, yes.
with the wire that runs through the middle of it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That knob and tube just wasn't designed to carry the loads of today's appliances.
That's right. We all have the computers and everything streaming and everything now, so a lot more electrical needs in the home.
Especially the bigger appliances like microwaves and more powerful microwaves, and
Yes.
maybe washer dryers and refrigerators and freezers. Okay.
Yeah.
Plumbing, again, how much of it's been replaced? Sewer lines and doing those inspections. And what about slow drains? What about water pressure? When you walk up and you're looking at an older home, maybe turn the faucet on and see what that water pressure looks like both on the hot side and the cold side. Flush the commode and see how fast the water goes down. Put some water in the bathtub and then pull the drain and see how quickly it drains out. Because those can be expensive items when you start digging into walls and ceilings and floors. Yeah, absolutely. Insulation. Older homes just weren't insulated like they are today. It's going to make a difference on utilities and what you pay for your bills. And so I would be looking for information on, I can blow some insulation into the ceiling, but what about in the walls? And
What do you do for the walls?
That's a tough one. I have actually had contractors before that would just cut a hole and take a look, but then you have to go repair the wall. You really can't see behind the wallboard, so it's something you want to ask about. You're kind of more worried about the heat rising up and what's in the attic.
You're right, keeping it kind of create that dome
right.
to warm you during the winters, yes.
But do we have strong winds in Oklahoma?
Absolutely.
Do we have strong winds in the wintertime?
Yes.
What's that caulking like around the windows? How
That's
are those
exactly what I was
seals
going to say.
What windows?
The windows themselves?
Oh, wow. Window costs are up so much. We're going to talk about that a little bit later with our home inspector today about the cost of glass and windows. But windows is a big one because they've really increased in price. What about foundation concerns? A lot of older homes maybe have basements.
Yes.
You get down inside and you're looking for cracks, you're looking for movement on the walls. Have they put buttresses in, which are these large concrete structures that they pour to hold the walls in place? So in older homes, definitely want to look at what the foundation is like. Even newer homes too. A little known thing for a lot of people is what a historical district is or what a historic preservation district is. So I sold one up in Putnam Heights a number of years back, just off of Classen.
Okay.
Around 43rd or 44th Street, I think. And you couldn't change the outside of that home and the way it looked.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. There's going to be a lot of, you're right, if it's in a, well, you just said historical.
A preservation district?
You're right. It's
or a special design district is what it could be in.
Absolutely. So basically what people are looking at historical homes, you want to maintain that historical look. And you can't go in and start saying, well, now I'm going to tear this off and put this up and start painting this or that. So there's going to be a lot of, I guess that would be part of the, covenants of the neighborhood.
That's
and everything.
right. Yeah, it is.
A lot of stuff in there.
It's design restrictions where if there's one type of material that's used, you can't necessarily just go off and take that material off. Say it's siding and you want to change it to stucco or ephes, and you may not be able to do that. And so when you're looking at an older home, I would ask if it's in a historical district or a historic preservation district so that you know that the cost of the materials and the labor for getting those improvements done might cost you a pretty penny. Definitely something to look at. Asbestos siding. Here's one I've gotten asked about a lot, Dave, over the years. So,
is there a lot of that still around? I guess
I'd have to quantify a lot, but I'd say there's a significant
well, in
amount.
historical homes, it's going to be, has it been updated since the 70s? If it hasn't, it's probably going to have asbestos.
Maybe even since the 40s or 50s. Here's the big one.
Okay.
I can walk up to a home. It kind of looks like a solid material, almost like a concrete board or a hardy board, which is what builders use today.
Okay.
Because it's so durable. But on the asbestos, what you see the most on homes that are older is it's gotten chipped over time. And maybe a piece of it's fallen off. And you think, I really want to replace that so it looks pretty. You have to be really careful with asbestos siding. It's best that it's left alone. The damaged siding, it's got to be carefully repaired so that you don't get into disturbing that asbestos shingle and kind of unloading the asbestos airborne. So I'd say let's keep it simple. Consult a professional on that one. Check online, do your research before you start messing with asbestos siding on your own. And then I think here's the big one. So a lot of older homes, you know what a sleeping porch is, right? So upstairs, a sleeping porch would be on the upper level.
Okay.
And typically have windows or screens on either 2 or 3 sides. So that during the summertime, you went upstairs, you opened the windows, there was no air conditioning, and it allowed the breeze to come through.
I like it.
Sleeping porches a lot of times had windows on the north and the south, but might also have one on the east or west. Well, why'd they put those in? There was no central heat and air, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember my father installed central heat and air on their home here in Oklahoma City, either in the very late 60s or early 70s. And I remember when they put in that big unit on the back of the house. Well, two-story homes that are older, if they have central heat and air and it's only downstairs, and or maybe there's vents upstairs but there's only one unit,
Sure.
you and I know it's going to be hotter upstairs because hot air rises.
Yes.
And the question is, there may not be ample closet space to go put a unit in that's going to provide heat and air for a second story. You need closet space. You got to be able to run the ductwork upstairs and get it into the ceiling. So when you're looking at older homes, if it's a two-story home and only has one heat and air unit, realize that there's going to be a big difference between the upstairs and downstairs temperature.
So it basically sounds like if I like older homes, I need to go find the home that's ready, it's done, the inspection, everything panned out, and maybe it's been updated or they've fixed what needed to be done in the last 5 to 10 years, and pay that premium to be in a historic home. Or I need to know that I need to have some money set aside, that there could be a lot more work to be done probably moving into an older home.
Yeah, bingo. And why don't we do this, Dave, on older homes? Just budget to spend a little bit more on your inspections.
Okay.
Get a good plumbing inspection done. Have somebody come out and scope that sewer line that's out in the yard because it's older. Have an electrician come out and check the electrical. Maybe have a structural engineer. That's $300 or $400, maybe $500, to have a structural engineer come out and look at the basement and make sure the foundation looks really good. So I think you spend a little bit more money. I think you do your diligence. And like you said, I think you probably just budget a little bit more. If I could only qualify for a $2,300 a month payment, or maybe it's a home that's $375,000, if that's all I qualify for, I'm probably less likely to go spend everything that I qualify for,
Sure.
pull back a bit on the price, not be so strapped on the payment, and keep some extra money in savings as a safety net, right?
Yes.
Because older homes are wonderful, they're beautiful, they have a lot of character, some of the areas are so beautiful, but you just kind of need to remember my friend Elise's advice. When you own an older home, you own it, but you're a bit of a caretaker. So, Dave, I've done this for 36 years. I've got the knowledge and expertise to help our listeners and guide them in the right decision. If you're considering an older home or any home, I'd love to hear from you. You can call me anytime at 330-3000. I can also take a text message, but I'd love to hear from you. Just because we talk doesn't mean that you have to use me. I'm glad to be a consultant, but ultimately, I am in real estate, and I'd love, whether you're selling or buying, to be your realtor of choice.
And of course, if they're looking to buy a home, they're in a home now, possibly they're looking to sell, text the same number, 330-3000, text
Right.
your address, and again, on a scale of 1 to 10, if it's in pretty good shape, you've done some improvements to it, and it's maybe an 8, so I'm just texting you my address, and that the home is an 8, to 330-3000, I'm going to get a pretty good deal what my home is worth, and then when I go out and start looking, I'm going to have kind of a baseline for how much money I could spend maybe.
And here's what I think our listeners like. They're going to get a text, but they're not going to get a phone call.
Yes.
We really respect that, and every weekend when our shows run, I'm getting quite a few addresses that are texted in. Do me a favor and give me, until the end of the day if you text me, and if it is the end of the day when you're texting, maybe you're listening to our show on a podcast or
Sure.
a rebroadcast. I may get it late in the day and not get it to you till the next day, but I will send you a pretty accurate estimate of what it looks like your home is worth based on the sales data available in the MLS. And I'll work really hard on that. I'll shoot you a text. You have no obligation to respond back, but glad to chit chat with you by text if you like. We are rolling.
Okay.
We are rolling.
Okay. So, Wally, it's another exciting segment where we have a guest, and it's from our sponsor, Oklahoma Home Inspection Service. Welcome back, Todd Stewart.
Hello.
Todd, how you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Good to see you guys.
It's good to see you. Now, when we had you last time, it was real fascinating to hear about some of the little nuances of things that you check out, from roofs to HVAC systems. Maybe things that people don't see but are going to be big ticket items.
The whole house,
Some of the
yes.
things that you check out that maybe we don't have to worry about that we were fretting about. And also getting an inspection up front. And you might tell us a little bit about that. That if I'm getting ready to sell my home, and I don't want to risk a sale not going through because at the 11th
Right.
hour it was inspected and the sewer line was
Right.
bellying out, or something was happening with the HVAC. Tell me if you can tell me a couple of things. Tell me how soon in the process, when I'm thinking about selling a home, I should get a pre-inspection, and is that the same
Sure.
as a regular inspection? And what do you do?
So it's very similar. We're going to treat it just as if you were buying the house. The only difference is you'll want to probably do this as you're getting things kind of ready and you think you're just about ready to go, and you just want to make sure there's no, like you said, surprises or headaches.
Yes.
So it'd be a good thing to do a couple of weeks before you put it on the market. That way you've got time if there is something found to do any repairs or evaluate things like that. Have somebody come look at it. If you have a professional come look at things.
Okay. Okay.
That'd be a good time to do
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty hard to get contractors right now, Dave. Everybody's busy. And I think it's because the real estate industry has been very busy.
Yes.
Even though rates have fluctuated a bit and it's been volatile inside the marketplace. And so, Todd, that's the biggest one I see is just trying to get a contractor
Right.
to fix something. So, yeah, I think at least 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks before a home goes on the market.
Sure.
So that if you discover something in that pre-inspection process, you notify the owner, you show them what you
Right.
found and why this might be an issue as far as a home inspection, how it might even chase a buyer off and make them wary about buying the home. That's
Correct.
really the goal here, isn't it? Is to determine anything that might be a deal killer that might push this thing south, right?
Well, and also, yes, it gives you a chance to just, even if you just wanted to ask someone some questions. You know, we've got some construction background experience. So a lot of times people will not only have defect questions, but they'll also have questions about, you know, what about this and this wall and these kinds of things. What is that? How does this affect things? And it's just a way for people to also have someone else to bounce ideas or questions off of as well.
Okay. Make them feel more comfortable about something
That's
if they
right.
had a question about it.
And
Okay.
we're happy to do that as well.
Okay, so the common things might be roofs, HVAC systems, and then there's electrical as well.
The big ticket items, that's right.
Yeah, so I know sometimes in homes, like in kitchens, there's a lot of different appliances going here and there, and there's a lot of electrical in kitchens, and that could be a dangerous situation, so you're going to inspect that. Now, we were chatting with Wally just a little bit before this, and I wrote this down because I want to get real technical here.
Okay.
So this is something, obviously, as Dave McKay, Wally probably knows this, but anyway, so you mentioned CSST gas
Yep.
lines,
Yep, that's
and you
right.
mentioned bonded and grounded. Okay, so
Yep.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I know what gas lines are, and I know
Yep.
that the risk could be involved, especially gas lines going to fireplaces
Right.
and to some other areas. So tell me, what did you mean by CSST gas lines, and what does that all
Yes.
entail?
So quick history. So they came out with a nice new gas line that they were putting in new houses in the early 2000s. It was flexible, so it was easier to put. It was cheaper. But the advantages of that also came with a small disadvantage, is that it's thinner, so it's not as thick as the original black pipe they were using.
Okay.
So they had a couple issues where when lightning would strike the house, it would perforate these gas lines, and they caused a couple of fires
Ooh.
when they first started using it. So the idea of bonding and grounding, electricians would yell at me to say it the same thing, but it's similar. Bonding, yes, a bonding connects it to the system to make it be grounded. So if you've got a lightning strike and you've got a massive amount of electricity going down this one line of 50,000 volts or whatever, and then you've got a small little gas line with only has 5 volts, and then the electricity jumps over it and arcs over to that, that's the problem they were having. So the manufacturer came back and said, okay, so this equipment you're using now needs to be bonded to the electric system, and that'll take care of the issue. Now, after that, they increased the insulation. They made it more safer, and they haven't had any issues since then. But we're still coming across houses that were built during that time period of 2000 to 2007 when they instituted that requirement, that have that gas line in the attic that's not bonded, or at least we can't find it. It may be behind boxes in the attic. We just can't maybe sometimes see it.
Okay.
And so that's when we write up, okay, you just need to make sure the CSST is bonded by an electrician, or he can verify that it is bonded.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew that was one that our listeners would be, a lot of these things in home inspections, whether it's, water leaks or plumbing leaks, that's the basic stuff. But we've got a couple of other things that I think our listeners will really enjoy hearing from Todd.
Sure.
on today.
Now, what about now? If you want to vent something to the outside,
Right.
and I'm thinking something like my dryer, a dryer vent or something like that.
Yep.
Is there times I've heard a story of this where someone had to get a new roof, and you got a lot of stuff going on a roof.
That's right.
And sometimes they just go right over that, and now it's either it's like it's clogged up, or now it's venting into the attic.
Right. So the roofers will come back and they're worried about, your decking and your shingles and making sure that's all right. And occasionally they might accidentally miss a hole or think that it's something old that's been abandoned, and they'll just cover it up. So occasionally, yes, we'll go up in the attic and find the dryer vent just open and blowing into the attic, or bathroom vents that used to be venting outside are now, again, either blowing, they don't have any pipes on them and they're blowing the insulation out of the way, or, yeah, they used to vent out and now they're just blowing that moisture all up into the attic.
You
Things
and I
like
see
that.
this quite a bit, don't we? I think the
Yeah.
big one on the dryer, Dave and Todd, is number one, if it's a dryer vent and it's now venting into the attic because the roofers might have just covered it up, like you said,
Right.
maybe they just missed it. Maybe it was a little more convenient for them, and a little more time consuming. And you're smiling,
that's
okay?
possible, yeah.
This is
Uh-oh.
why
You never
we're on
know.
radio and not TV, so you can't
Yeah.
see us. But the truth is, sometimes maybe it's a shortcut, and they roof right over and put shingles over and don't cut the decking. Here's, I think, the two concerns, Dave, is moisture in the attic, like you said.
Right.
Dryers have moisture, right?
Yes.
We're trying to get the moistness out of the clothes.
Especially in the summer, yes.
Yeah, and you don't want to shoot that moisture into the attic. And then number two is, we've all heard about what are called dryer fires.
Yes.
When you get too much lint
Yes.
inside, and the dryer gets hot, and it sets. If it's venting outside, you've got a chance that combustible stuff is going to vent outside. But what if a dryer was to catch on fire, or the lint inside the vent pipe, and it push into the attic?
Yeah, that's
and
a
that
scary
and that would be a
situation.
catastrophe. So
Right.
so this is a pretty big deal on checking those vent pipes.
Correct.
And most owners don't want to go crawl up in the attic and check those, but on
Right.
your pre-inspections, that's something you check for, isn't
That's
it?
correct. So we go places that people are normally not going to go, whether it's in a crawl space, in an attic, storm shelter, whatever it is. We go check these places out.
So one place that a lot of people like myself are going to go is what's the view from inside the home to the backyard, the front yard, and the natural light coming in. So now I'm talking about windows. And I might go look at windows, and again, I'm not an expert, so I'm bringing you in to check out the caulking or the window pane and everything around the window. And if it's double pane glass, I know that sometimes you get that little layer between there, so that means somewhere that seal has broken. What point do I need to replace the windows? And I'll
Sure.
ask Wally about this too in just a minute. Is that an expensive proposition if I need to replace a lot of windows? And I'm probably thinking it is.
Getting that way. So the thermal pane windows, they'll come as one unit sealed together. And over time, either sun cooks it or just they give out with age. And then moisture starts getting in between those thermal panes.
Okay.
So the window still works, it still operates. It has lost some of its insulating ability. It still will keep the weather out, but over time it's just going to slowly fog over until you can't see out of it. So we write up, if there's any moisture at all that we can tell, we write up the seal has failed and the pane needs to be replaced.
Yeah, so I'm
Okay.
going to kick in here and talk about cost.
Yeah.
Okay, this
Okay.
was tough to swallow.
Swallow
So
this area.
I just closed a luxury home, and we knew when I went and met with her, Todd, Dave, I could tell there were 2 or 3 windows with broken seals because they were fogging up. And again, like Todd said, they may not look really bad right now, but if the seal has failed, it's just going to get worse and worse over time.
Yes.
To where it clouds up enough and there's enough condensation you can't see outside. So here's the gig. Home inspector comes out. It was not Todd in this case. I was the listing agent and representing my seller. And another realtor brought a buyer. and they chose a different home inspector, as much as I would like to have seen them use Todd because I trust him that much. They found 10 broken seals, Dave, and none of these were like big picture windows. They were regular size windows that were none of them more than 2.5 or 3 feet tall and wide. And do you know the cost? My owner got 2 estimates from 2 different glass companies here in the metro. And the cheapest estimate for replacing 10 thermopane window units was $7,800. On average, $780 per window. Now that was shocking to me. I thought the bid would be half of that. And so this tells me how much materials and labor and costs have gone up. So if you have windows that are fogged, boy, I'd check into that right now, because let's say, Dave, that you're going to sell your home and you're going to buy another one. And you're trying to budget with me how much you're going to have to put down on your next purchase.
Yes.
But if all of a sudden we end up with 7 or 10 or 12 or 15 broken thermopane seals on windows, and all of a sudden you've got a $10,000 window bill to take care of this thermopane glass, that cuts deeply into your down payment for your next home.
Now my
right?
down payment's smaller. Now my monthly payment's higher.
Yep.
It just keeps rolling downhill. And now can I afford that new home that I want? Let alone I'm in the middle of a sale over
Sure.
here, and now I have to fix stuff. So obviously it sounds like the pre-inspection is the route to go.
Well, this gives them the information they need. So a homeowner will have the information they need. They can at least make a decision on what they want to do. So there won't be any surprises.
Good. And we'll know if there's any big ticket items, of course, that
Right.
we'd have to do anyway.
That's
And
right.
we do that ahead of time. Okay, so I'm going to stop just for a second. I want to think about
Yeah,
how I
reload
want to
there a
read
minute,
this
Fisher.
last one, yeah.
I'll just cut the dead space out.
Yeah, that works out great. Makes it a lot easier.
I mean, I kind of said what I was going to say there at the end. So let's just bring it around to, I'll kind of ask, let's see. Todd, is there any questions that, no, let's not do it that way. Todd, when you're asked to come out and do a pre-inspection, are there certain things that homeowners are not aware of to maybe ask you to inspect? Now, this is going to be, it's real easy again to think about the roof, the HVAC. Is there
Right.
something that we don't think about at all that you go, look, you really need to think about your front door? Is it aligned properly? Is there things like that that we wouldn't think of at all that we should really bring into the pre-inspection process?
Good questions to ask. Yes. And let me think about that for a minute.
Let me kick in here. Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
I know a good one, Todd, and that is
Yeah.
the heat and air system.
Okay.
There's many times where you guys will check the temperature going into the return and then the temperature coming out of supply.
Correct.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that temperature is supposed to cool 14, 15 degrees minimum, and a system that's really performing well might cool that air 20, 21 degrees. A lot of times there can be HVAC issues that either concern Freon that's leaked out or not enough Freon inside the system to where that outside unit's just running and running and running and
Right.
running, causing a lot of wear and tear on the system
Yep.
because perhaps Freon is leaked out. Isn't that one of the big items that surprises you and me a lot of times? Is we'll do an inspection,
Right.
we'll find out it's not cooling properly, and then we've got to get down to the bottom of that, right?
Right. And a lot of times people just, don't realize their AC isn't cooling as well as it should. So it's cooling, and oh yeah, my house gets cool. It just takes longer than it should. So yeah, that's affecting their bills and their comfort both.
So it can be just pumping Freon in, or we may learn that there's a leak in the system,
Well-
and that takes a little further diagnosis by a
Right.
licensed HVAC contractor.
Exactly. So
right?
it could denote further issues that need to be looked at. So that's what we always say, hey, this just isn't quite working right. Have a heat and air guy come check the whole system, heat and furnace, just do a complete diagnostic, and then you're covered. You're good.
Are
to
there
go.
are there certain things too where if I have tile floors and I see a crack in a tile and I'm thinking, well, it's just that tile just happened to crack or something over time.
Sure.
Is that a telltale sign to you that it could be something bigger like the foundation, like also where you might have maybe just a little line in
Right.
the ceiling or
Yep.
the wall,
Yep.
and I'm thinking, okay, that just happens to be
couple of nail pops up in the ceiling,
Yeah, or
stuff
something like that,
Yeah,
where
that's right.
I'm thinking it's not that big a deal, but to you, that's a sign that it could be something. Are there little things like that?
Yes. So if we're seeing like 2 or 3 notifications in one area, so like we'll see a crack in the wall, and then I'll go outside and I'll see some separation at the brick.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll see some stuff at the very top trim. If I'm seeing 2 or 3 things in one area, that's when I'm starting to get a little more uncomfortable, and I'm going to say things like, "You're going to probably want to have an engineer come look at this, or a structural professional
Okay, so
come
foundation.
evaluate the
Yeah.
foundation." That's right. At that
and,
point.
and so that we don't scare our listeners today, one cracked ceramic tile is not typically a big deal.
Correct.
But if you look and there's 5 or 6 adjoining or what's the word? Contiguous tiles.
Yeah.
In other words, they're all touching each other, and that crack kind of continues in a straight or crooked line. That
And
might
it's-
indicate something going on underneath the tile.
Right.
Is
And it's
that
like
right?
if it's getting wider, if it's something that's separating and you've noticed a difference over time, that could be an issue. So just cracked tile by itself, I'm probably not going to be concerned about
Sure,
that.
okay.
That could just be a normal, what we call movement in Oklahoma. Every house moves in Oklahoma. There's going to be some movement. There's going to be some minor cracks. I just want to see small hairline cracks, and I don't want to see a lot of things in one area.
Okay, so again, Todd Stewart from Oklahoma Home Inspection Service joining us this morning. And do you do other inspections besides pre-inspection? You do them all, right?
Correct. Yeah. we do.
Again, see, I know this is
Yes.
Wally. Wally knows all this. I'm going to be John Q. listener. And how do I want to ask this?
Let's say we do both residential and commercial.
Okay.
We do all over the Oklahoma City metro area. We go all over the place. So every inspector has to be licensed to work in Oklahoma. And so yeah, we've got a state license. And so we're licensed to go all over the state. We try and just stay in the metro area. Probably similar area that Wally works in.
So here's what I would say for our listeners today is some folks might say, and let's go with devil's advocate. Tell you what, I don't really need to get an inspection done because the buyer's going to probably pay for that. And my response to this would be, when people come to me, they're looking for certainty. If it's a buyer, they want to be certain that they're buying a good home.
Yeah.
If it's a seller, they come to me and say, "Wally, I need to sell the home. I certainly don't want it to fall through. Can you give me some degree of certainty that I'm not going to have any big issues here?" And this is the reason that the pre-inspection is really important for listeners to get, for home sellers to get, to try to identify any deal killers that would cause a buyer to contract for your home and then suddenly decide they wanted to cancel. So,
Right.
Todd, it's really, in most cases, it's just a few $100s
Right.
to get a pre-inspection done, and I think there's great value in it.
Oh, well, yeah, so you don't have the headache. You don't
Right.
have the worry. Todd, thank you so much for joining us again. Todd Stewart from Oklahoma Home Inspection Service.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Do you want to throw out your phone number in case
Yes.
someone needs to contact you?
Yes. Our phone number is 405-366-8889. I'd be happy to talk to you, answer any questions, either one.
Todd, our shows run on Saturdays and Sundays is when we broadcast. Of course, Dave, we've got lots of mediums where people can pick up our shows, download them, listen to it at the gym, in their car, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, WallyTalksHouses.com. You can download our shows. Todd, if somebody calls for a pre-inspection or a home inspection and it's Saturday or Sunday, will you pick up or do
That's
they
right.
need to wait and call you on Monday?
No. Yeah, I've got the phone. It'd be me that answers the phone, so I can be able to schedule it as well as answer questions.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great
Yeah.
job. Great
Yeah,
job.
thanks.
Good.
You know what?
Good.
I was getting us down the road, but I just didn't know how to put a bow on.
Having a little more fun? Check yes or no. That's one of my favorite George Strait songs, but actually on House Talk with Dave McKay, Mr. Celebrity over here, every Saturday morning at 7 o'clock and Sundays at noon, we talk real estate, right?
Absolutely.
But we don't check yes or no. We do true or false real estate questions on our show. So join us for our show weekly, Saturday mornings at 7
And Sundays at noon,
on
KOKC.
15:20 a.m. We'll see you this week.
I think that was a good one.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I thought about this. So I go in asking you about, do we know the Fed stuff? You got the info on that,
Yeah,
right?
I got it. Got it.
So I'll say, okay, Wally, at the top of the show, you mentioned, we're going to, on Wednesday, big announcement by the Feds. What do we got going on there? You'll talk about that. And I think, since you'll talk about, and it's a little bit of a hike, right?
Mhm.
So I'll say, I might talk about, hey, there's a lot of ways to, I mean, you can lock in an interest rate. We have the float down options. There's
Good.
ways to combat the rates going up, and I'll say so. I'm not gonna say don't let that deter you, but I'll just say I want to merge it into your listings, basically. Say so. These are
Very good.
wonderful options to buy a new home, and I assume that you have some available that we can talk. Something like
Perfect,
that. I'll
perfect.
make it a little bit more.
And listen to this headline. Stock market today. Dow up slightly as Fed delivers hike and hints at a possible pause, which is what we talked about a month ago.
Yeah.
Was it looked like maybe they might say this might do it to beat inflation. So we'll talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Which would lead, if rates aren't going to go up, there's a chance to go down in the future. So I think we
Oh.
give some positive news.
Okay. This is House Talk with Wally Kerr on 1520 KOKC. Wally, at the beginning of the show, you mentioned how this week there was a big announcement by the feds in interest rates and things of the like. Tell us what you've learned.
So we hinted at this about a month ago, and I've been reading a lot about this, Dave. So a 25-point basis increase, again, this past Wednesday.
Okay.
That was anticipated by the market. So mortgage lenders had already adjusted their rates. They've slipped up a little bit, more like around 6 3/4 instead of closer to 6.5.
Okay.
Now that doesn't have anything to do with it being a 25-point basis increase and going from around 6.5 to 6 3/4. That's coincidental.
Okay.
But there was a rise. But here's the good news. This is again what we predicted here on this show about a month ago, and that is the Fed is hinting that this might be all they need to do to curb inflation. Dave, they're trying to keep it at about 2% per year on annual inflation. They've been fighting that for a long time, haven't they?
Yes, absolutely.
Since last March, they've raised the basis points, something like 450, 475 basis points, and rates have gone from, say, the threes to 6.5 or higher. But the hint from the Fed is this might be enough to curb inflation, and that would be big news
So
for the
that
housing
means
market.
in the future, later on this year, we could see rates starting to head south a little bit.
Yeah, there's some predictions by the National Association of Realtors predicting that rates will fall below 6 this year, and a belief that maybe back into the mid fives next year. But there's still some good options out there. You're not locked into this rate forever. We've talked about some of these options on the show before, right?
Yes, like the float down option, which I love, is where you're allowed to one time bring it down. So if it was 6 3/4, and let's just say I'm building a new home and it's going to be done in about 6 to 7 months, and we get 5 months in, and boy, that rate, I mean, I don't know if it could do this, but let's say it dropped to 6 1/4. I'm going to use my float down option then and lock it in. I could do that, correct?
Now, see, I think you pegged some numbers there that I think are very possible. I think
Okay.
5 or 6 months down the road, Dave, I think your guess was pretty good that maybe rates might be 6 1/4 or maybe even 6. So this float down option, which is available from, now the lender we prefer to use is Gateway Mortgage.
Okay.
And Chris Doak, and I believe his number is 405-253-2276. We like him because the service is great, the rates are great, the fees are very, very reasonable. And he's got this float down option on new construction, like you mentioned. Maybe you go in, you've decided to build a home. It's going to be 5 or 6 months before it's going to be done. He had a float down option, I believe he said up to a year, didn't he? Pretty positive
I think
that was
so.
what he said.
It was a pretty good length. Yes.
So it's just, hey, I'm going to lock a rate today because I can make the payment. I'm okay with the way rates are right now, but if they fall, I want to take advantage of that. That's called a float down option. Someone can pay points and buy down the rate. They can do a buy down and what's called a 2-1 or a 3-2-1 buy down. I won't go too deep into that.
Okay.
There are definitely some good options, and just remember, you can always go back in and refinance. And I know some lenders locally also that have some really great refinance programs where it's very affordable, and they're very clear that if rates drop significantly, you're going to want to go in and refinance, and they make that a very affordable option.
So seeing that the feds may pause things and rates could start to go down, I might start wanting to look around a little bit. And if I want to go look for some new homes, do we have some new homes out there to go look at?
There are lots of new homes available. It constitutes 70 to 75% of the current inventory that's available.
Okay.
And I would be glad to help our listeners with new construction, whether they're thinking about buying or building. I built 2 homes, know the ropes very well, certainly know about financing, what's called a one-time close, getting your best rate, float down options, borrowing against your current home and doing a bridge loan to build your new home.
Oh,
So I
yes.
can help there. But this weekend, Dave, we got a couple of homes that are going to be open. A few less open houses this weekend than what we've had in recent past. Both of these just happen to be in Norman this weekend. 2321 Alex Plaza is a little home that's just been remodeled on the inside. It will be open between 1 and 2 p.m. on Sunday. It's just under 1,700 feet. Great little 3-bed, 2-bath. $231,500 in price.
Okay.
And then a home in Norman that does need a remodel on the inside. Mostly it's paint and carpet, but some other items too. This is almost 3,100 feet, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. It is priced at $385,000 and open Sunday between 1 and 2 p.m. So stop by. Our listeners can stop
Sure.
by and see either one of those homes. Some new listings, hot on the market this week. I just listed a beautiful home in Esperanza, which is a great gated community in
I love that
Edmond.
name too.
Esperanza.
I love that.
Off of May Avenue between 150th and 164th.
Okay.
This is a gorgeous home at 15713 Cambria Court. I've put that home on the market for $719,500 on price. It is a 4-bed, 3-bath home. It's gorgeous. First occupied 5-6 years ago. Beautiful
Oh, okay.
property, gated community, clubhouse, pool, lawn care taken care of, and that home's around 3,500.
And just north of Memorial, shops, restaurants.
about a mile and a half
everything.
north of Memorial there, and just
Okay.
south of Rose Creek off of May Avenue. That's a gorgeous home.
Awesome.
South Oklahoma City, 13908 Broadway Avenue. This would just be north of Santa Fe and 149th Street. Over 2,600 feet, 4-bed, 3-bath, 3-car. The main bedroom's got a fireplace inside. That's
Ooh,
cozy.
Yes.
And you know what an Australian closet is, don't you, Dave?
Okay, so I've heard this, and I'm gonna be truthful and say no, I don't know what
So
this is.
this is one of those closets that very often you go in one door, it wraps around, sometimes behind the backside of the shower, and comes out another door. Now, I think this story's true, Dave. Okay,
Okay.
I'm going to take a shot here. I'm pretty sure that it's called an Australian closet. It's real large and it wraps around, but they call it Australian because you can go in and walk about. So we're going back to the days of Crocodile
Shaped
Dundee.
like a boomerang.
There you
kinda
go.
in
It
around.
is shaped like a boomerang. So this has
Okay.
got a really, really big closet that walks directly into the laundry room, and that's from the primary bathroom, from the
Huh,
master
okay.
bath. Okay, and then I've got 2 remodeled homes right now in Quail Creek that are very large homes. One is just over 4,100 feet. The other one is over 4,300 square feet. Both of those are priced at $699,000. They're at 3221 Hickory Stick and at 3408 Partridge in Quail Creek. Great area, right there off of 122nd and Memorial, or 122nd and Lake Hefner Parkway. Those are great homes.
Okay, now Wally, these are all great homes, but I want one of those that no one knows about yet. And I know you have your super secret Batman listing of homes that are not on the market yet. Do we have some of those as well?
I got a couple still coming up on golf courses. One's a big luxury home.
Okay.
One is pretty affordable, under $250,000. So if you're
On a golf
interested in a
course.
home on a golf course,
Nice. Okay.
one of them's gorgeous, trees, 2 acres, pool, golf course lot,
Nice.
gorgeous property, about 5,000 feet. The other one's below $250,000. Got one coming up in Noble, which
Okay.
is a little home that requires no down payment. It qualifies for USDA financing. So if you could get the seller to pay some closing costs, based on negotiating the price with them and maybe adding that back in, you get in for no money down. Got a big home coming up in Gaillardia that I'm pretty excited about. Got a couple coming up in Brookhaven in Norman.
Yes.
And both of those properties under $250,000, where there's a lot of people that would like to be in Brookhaven for that price.
Yes.
Those homes are 1,900, 2,000 square feet. So if any of those interest you, and I'm not mentioning all of these listings, Dave, that we call off-market,
Sure.
coming soon.
Yes.
I know we're going to list them,
Yes.
but they're not on the market. There's no sign in the yard. Your agent won't know about them. other buyers don't know. If you'd like to get to those homes before they go on the market, shoot me a text or give me a call at 330-3000, and I'll tell you about our coming soon private stock of listings.
I like that. That's awesome. Okay, so now on to my favorite segment. We're going to do real quick here. We'll do a little bit of true or false real estate quiz.
It makes me smile because you like this segment, and we've had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, let's do some true or false today, and let's tell our listeners how this works.
I like it because if I guess correctly, I feel smart.
Well, if you get above 70%, I've added a new caveat to your exam, and that is, if you beat me and you score above 70%, I have to clean the restrooms here at the radio station.
Okay.
And if you don't score 70%, you have to do the job. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Is that fair?
That's fair. I thought we were going to, bring donuts or something, but I mean.
Tell you what, let's start with donuts and then we'll discuss it afterward.
Yes,
How's
absolutely.
that? Okay, so Dave, how about this? When I sell my home, I'll have to pay some of my net proceeds to the U.S. government in the form of taxes afterwards. So if you sell your home this year in 2023, are you going to have to pay some money to the U.S. government in 2024 because you sold your home and made a profit?
Wow. I have no idea, and I'm going to say no.
So here is the qualifiers.
Okay.
Real quick, it's easy. If you've owned the property for at least 2 of the last 5 years and used it as your principal residence,
Okay.
if you haven't sold another principal residence in the last 2 years, if you didn't write it off for business or rental purposes, if you're single and it's under $250,000, you pay no taxes.
Okay.
If you're married couple, married partnership, and sell it for under $500,000, no taxation. Now that's the simple gist of the question. You would always have to itemize and tell the government that you sold a home. But the truth is, you are correct if our listeners meet those qualifiers.
All right.
Okay? How about another one? A real estate agent can only represent the buyer or the seller in a transaction, not both at the same time. True or false? We're still here, guys. We're still on the air. Don't worry, Dave's thinking. Either that or he went to sleep on me.
Well, I mean, is that kind of a conflict of interest? Because the party could sway one way or the other. So I'm going to say that's false. They could not represent both parties.
And it's actually a true question. They actually can represent both at the same time,
Really?
as long as it's disclosed in writing to both parties at the time the contract is negotiated.
Okay.
Okay, Dave, you're 50-50. You got to hit this last one, okay?
Man, I'm going to have to buy donuts.
This is this is one that might trip you up. When a home is sold as is, the buyer has no recourse if they discover defects or issues with the property after the sale has closed. True or false? When a home is sold as is, the buyer has no recourse if they discover defects or issues with the property after the sale.
Well, that's the definition of as is, so I'm going to say true.
And it's actually a false question. And here's why. If you know you have a problem, especially if you're listed with a realtor, now this is the big one.
Okay.
With for sale by owners, there's not a real estate professional involved, and it might be a little harder, but I would certainly expect if you got the right attorney and found out you had a problem with a home after you bought it, if you could prove the previous owner knew about it and did not disclose it, you might have a leg to stand on. In real estate,
Okay.
when you're listed with a realtor, if I were to have a seller who I listed a home for and they didn't disclose an issue, and after the closing the buyer found that there was an issue and the seller did know about it, even if the seller sold the property as is, they're required to fill out the Oklahoma property condition disclosure statement as a part of the sale, and the seller is supposed to disclose any known defects. So even if they sell it as is, they still have to disclose defects.
And that's the caveat. That's right. That's what you got me on is it's a known defect. And I didn't think about that. You're right. Because it could be, I mean, it's just, you're right. They know about it. They have to tell you. But I could see some situation where it came up later on and it wasn't caught in an inspection or something like that. But you're right. If they do know about it and it's something that's
That's the big one, Dave.
Yeah.
They can sell it and say as is present condition, but that's still going to be subject to them disclosing what they know. And that's
Okay.
why the Oklahoma Disclosure Act exists. And this is a big issue that buyers can hit when dealing with a for sale by owner. Because the for sale by owner is not required by the state of Oklahoma to fill out that form.
Okay, so
that's a big one.
you're going to need to disclose to me what kind of donuts you like. If you're an apple fritter guy or an old fashioned, because it looks like I'm bringing donuts next week.
You know, this is the first time you didn't hit 70% or above. I like Bavarian cream with the
Okay.
chocolate icing and that good cream filling.
Okay.
And I'm salivating now, so I'm going to let you close the show for us.
Fantastic. You're listening to House Talk with Wally Kerr. Airs every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. The replay straight up noon on Sundays when you get out of church. Tune us in on KOKC so you pick up what you might have missed here Saturday morning. If you're thinking of making a move, you can call or text Wally at 405-330-3000. Visit wallyhasthebuyers.com. Simply get an estimated value for your home by texting your address to 330-3000. Let them know if scale 1 to 10. Is it a 4? Is it an 8? You'll get no phone call, just a text. And you can hear replays of this show on Wally's YouTube channel. Listen to the podcast on all the podcast platforms, including Apple and Google Podcast, Spotify, Podchaser, iHeartRadio. I even know that in the future we're going to sell seats so they could sit in here with us because they're everywhere. All previous episodes can be found on his website, wallytalkshouses.com, where right now you can register for Wally's upcoming webinar. It is happening.
It actually, if you're listening today, Saturday morning, it's at
That's right.
10 a.m. this morning. If you don't catch this until Sunday and you're listening to the show, we'll do our investors webinar either again in June or July.
Okay.
And if you'd like to learn how to get wealthy in real estate, as I have done, I'll give you my best ideas and best advice for investing in real estate, either in this market or in a different market.
So they have about 2 hours right now because I'm used to saying the last couple of weeks, May 6th, and it just struck me as I was reading this is that today is Saturday, May 6th.
I've got to leave here
So,
from our show
that's
Saturday morning and get back to do this webinar
You
this
have
morning.
2 hours to go get your Bavarian cream donuts.
I am
on the
really
way back to
glad
the
you
office.
didn't forget my favorite donut
There you
because
go.
I expect it to be in here on a napkin waiting for me next week, Dave.
I'm going to remember that. Thank you for listening. And to reach Wally once again, you can call him, text him, 405-330-3000. Thank you for listening to House Talk with Wally Kerr. I'm Dave McKay. Wally, have a great afternoon.
You too, Dave.